Hey guys, this is Valde from Moji here. Danish Counter-Strike is one hell of a drug, but so is Thorin's YouTube channel.
Right, I'm here for another episode of Reflections, and my guest for this one is going to be Coldzera, the very well-known CSGO player. So where I'd actually like to start this interview is a lot of people will know your connection to players like Taco and Fallen and the others once you get to the famous Luminosity team, which won the major and did all those amazing things. But when I interviewed Taco, I was actually quite surprised myself to find out that you guys apparently knew each other for years before this, and even when you were just amateurs and you were nowhere close to famous, right?
Yeah, so when you talk about me and Taco, like people usually know like us from Luminosity and after that and SK. But like I was playing with Taco since that I started to play CSGO kinda. I met Taco like way before that. We have a team in Brazil together called Dexterity. And in the past I was like playing League of Legends. I was not even like playing so much CSGO. So he just told me, "Yo, you wanna back to play? Yeah, you want back to play with me?" And I was like, "Nah, CS:GO is kind of lame a little bit." So no one was playing at all. Brazil was kind of a little bit bad. So the scene there was like kind of dead a little bit. So no tournaments, like nothing to do it. So just why I'm gonna practice something that I'm not gonna compete, right? So it doesn't make sense. So I started to play League of Legends, and after that, he just called me. Things start to grow a little bit in Brazil, so tournaments start to happening, and I started back to playing with him, and that's how everything started.
Were you actually good at League of Legends? Like, were you just playing it for fun? Were you trying to be pro in that game?
Yeah. I was kind of good a little bit. So I was challenger in Brazil. But I was just playing just for hobby. I think.
What was your role in the game?
I was playing mid and jungle.
Okay.
I was just like playing for hobby. Like I had nothing to play, so I was playing for hobby and just having fun. But like. Yes, in Brazil in the beginning was like really bad. So like not like you just practice and you just play and practice and play, but like no tournaments at all. So was not like good to be playing back there, you know.
Yeah, for people who don't know, maybe you can explain a little bit. The actual team you were on, the Luminosity team, is part of what sort of built up Brazilian Counter-Strike, right? Before that, I know, if people know the story, like famously, the team they had before, like Kaboom, etc., didn't even have the money to go to Europe, to go to the major. Like, the scene was a lot less developed back before the team that won the major, etc., right?
Yeah, like when we were playing in the beginning, like we didn't have a scene in Brazil, so people were just playing for fun, and people were arguing a lot of about like CS:GO, right? Because CS 1.6 there was like the big thing in Brazil. But
people didn't like CS:GO.
Yeah, they didn't like CS:GO at all. So like I think Fallen was the first one who complains a lot.
Right.
But after that, like things start to happening so fast and grow and grow and grow. And we start to have like some tournaments there, and after that, I think Luminosity they invite like the international team right from Fallen, and they start to play some tournaments as a KD Stars, and after that they got a proposal from Luminosity, and after that I joined the team. So it was like a little bit shaky in the beginning, but things start to get connected really well.
If people know what I'm talking about, they're going to immediately remember this image. There's a famous picture of you that was posted after you became like #1 player in CS:GO. You know the one I'm talking about, where it's you and Fallen, and I forget who the third person is. It's either Fur or FNX, right? Is it Fur?
I think it was FNX.
FNX. There you go. Yeah. So obviously it's a picture of like old school, like legendary players. Like FNX obviously won the major in 1.6, and Fallen was already a top player, etc. Right? When people see this picture, the reason it's a funny picture is obviously at the time you're just a fan, but then later you're playing with these two guys and winning the major. Does that mean, did you know about esports when you were younger? Were you actually a fan in that? Like, were you one of those people who'd ever dreamed of being pro?
Nah, to be honest, no. So like when I was a kid, I started playing like when I had 13 years. My brother teach me how to play CS 1.6. But I never was a guy who was following the scenes. Like, oh, I'm fan of this guy. I'm fan of this guy. So I need to watch this game. So I was never like that, you know. So I was just playing for hobby with my friends, and I started to like enjoying playing the game. And I was playing for a lot of hours, of course, as everyone do it nowadays. So after that, like the game changed, and that was a big update. So when they bring CS:GO, and my friends started to, they told me like, oh, you should try to go pro. You're really good. And I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do it, because like I was doing my university school and that shit. So I really started thinking about that, and I started to work really hard from the first day that the game released. And I was like putting a lot of numbers, hours, and I started to have a lot of confidence. So that's when I built a team with Taco. So me and
Right.
Taco started playing together, and we started to growing together as a team and as as a friendship as well. So we started playing really well in Brazil. So I think our only hardest opponent in Brazil was like Kate Start, and we were matching against them really well as well. So we started to like build our like kind of we start to build our like team around what we had in the moment, and after that I have the invitation to play for them. So
Right. When I've asked people before you joined the Luminosity team, like, did people know Coldzera in the Brazilian scene? Some people say in Brazil, everyone knew you. It's just that outside of Brazil, obviously you haven't played on international teams, and everyone thought, who's this guy? They told me, like, it was obvious actually in the scene that you had like talent and people knew you were a good player. Like, obviously, like you say, the team you're in also had known players. Like Henny and Lucas obviously went on to be in the Immortals team, etc. Right. Well, question for you is this, Coldzera. Are you someone who's a natural talent? Did you have to grind to get good? Were you always good in CS?
no, nah. I need like in the game you need to start to grind. Like doesn't matter like if you're a talent or not. So you need to grind. So nowadays, like for example, like I'm kind of old a little bit. So for the game, right? So I have 29. So it's hard to you maintain your pace from the new generation, right? So that there's kids like they're start to playing like the game for like 10 years from now, you know, like they start at 10 years old. Now they have 16. They have already 6 years of playing CS, you know. So it's hard to follow them. They play like 24 hours a day, like 20 hours a day. So like it's different, right? So I did the same thing when I was a kid as well. So I enjoyed the game. I started to play a lot, and when I have the big chance to become really good, so I started putting a lot of hours in the game, like, and things start to happening so fast. So it's hard to say like or to match like something like how you became good. Like I don't know how to explain as well, you know.
Sure.
So like things just happened so fast, and I started to build a lot of confidence as well while I was playing, and things just happened. Like I think I just put a lot of numbers. I played really serious from the beginning. That I was when I put in my head, oh, okay, I now I want to go pro. So I need to build hours. I need to put hours. I need to do everything as I can. Like I need to watch demos. I need to be more smart than them. I need to like plan my bomb size. I need to plan how I'm gonna play, how I'm gonna work in the system. Watch my own demos reviews, like from the practice. So I put a lot of hours.
When you first came to the Luminosity team, or I can't remember if it was actually called Keat Stars initially, but when you came to the team initially, and you obviously had like that first major, ESL Cologne was almost like the first event pretty much, and then you had another major before Taco and FNX and Zeus came in. People might remember a very famous detail is you basically were good from day one, it felt like even though the team itself wasn't at the level yet to win the major, like it was obviously going out in like the quarterfinals, everyone remembers your stats were all pretty good. You looked, normally, you know, rookies, like they choke in the game or they have problems in the big match. Did you find, was there a reason why you just kind of naturally, you just took to competitive play, right? You were just good. Is there a reason why?
I think it's just like because like I was doing like was working so hard in the for myself, right, to play good. I think I built a lot of confidence since of day one, so that I started playing some tournaments. So I knew like if I had a good month of practice, if I was playing serious from the beginning, I could transfer this for the game. So I never felt so much pressure, like because I I was literally doing the same thing I was doing practice. So no cheating practice. Like I'm not gonna be rushing there. Not gonna be doing something stupid there. Like like I was just playing exactly the game I'm gonna play in the tournament. So it doesn't matter what's happening. I'm gonna play serious from the first round that I was playing. So that's why I didn't choke in any tournament. I think to be honest, like the first game that I got really nervous was the first game of the major when I was my first appearance in the Cologne major. So it was like my first game of my life. So I kind of shook a little bit, but I was okay. I did good. I did not bad. But in the second game against Angels, I was playing insanely good. So like I think it was just the first game, from the tournament. So I need just to relax a little bit. And after when I got the like this feeling like of okay, now I'm good to play. I can show my game. I can do everything in practice. So I just took everything out of my head, and I was just like, okay, now I'm ready to play. So, and I just started to build a lot of confidence. I started to growing in the game. I started to growing up as well, like knowing like the opponents, the way how they play, the way how I should play against them, and I was ready for everything.
What you just described there is something I'd actually like to ask you a little bit more about. When you said about the mentality that when you played a scrim, you would do everything properly, even if, by the way, in the scrim, maybe the opponent doesn't need you to. Like maybe it's like a no-name NA team and you could just do whatever you want. The idea you play properly, I think it's a very key idea a lot of maybe fans aren't aware of, because as you say, if you practice that way, then in the actual official, you're already going to be trained to play that way. The reason I bring this up, Coldzera, is I've had a lot of friends in the North American scene we used to practice, and I know actually a lot of them had the opposite issue. They told me that the problem is if you play a scrim, you'll have some American player who in the scrim's insane, he's doing all crazy moves and like he looks like the best player in the world, but then if you put him in the real match, maybe he doesn't play that way, maybe he's nervous or he thinks differently. Like, is this something, it sounds like this is a secret you learned early on, right? You've got to practice a certain way to play a certain way, right?
Yeah, of course. Like, I still feel the same thing like nowadays as well. Like in CS2, like sometimes people just play in the way how they're not gonna play in the game. So it's a waste of time for them, not for me, because I'm gonna do the same things that I'm gonna do in the game. So if you don't practice in the way that you're supposed to practice, you're never gonna see if your things work or not, because you're just playing like a kind of YOLO way, you know. So if you go just for M duels, or you have a strat and you anticipate everything, and when you do that kind of stuff, when you go to the tournament, you're gonna feel pressured, and when the pressure comes, you're not gonna do that. But maybe you're supposed to do that because it's working in practice, but you don't know if you're gonna work in the real match because you're not confident to do it, because the score is like kind of higher for another team and you're losing, for example, you know. So like all of that stuff, I discard of my mind. So I need to play in the same way I'm gonna play the tournament. So if I need to anticipate everything, I'm gonna just practice it. So I'm just gonna do it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Or if I need to like just overpick, I'm just gonna keep overpicking. I don't care, but I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna keep doing that in the tournament as well. Doesn't matter the circumstance, you know. So like nowadays, people sometimes they just waste their time playing sometimes in the practice because they're not gonna play in the same way they're gonna compete.
One thing I would say from your time with the lineup with Fallen and FNX and Taco, etc., that's very famous is people always say that like the whole team worked around Coldzera. Obviously, when you were getting voted #1 player in the world, etc. I mean, I would give the comparison of like when someone like, I don't know, Messi was at Barcelona or something. Like, it's not like he has to always be the one that's a star, but the team clearly structured around him, what he wants to do, what he's good at. Is this actually something that like consciously was done? Did people like Zeus and Fallen, was the team set up this way? Have you always played your particular style? How did this come about? Because it looked awesome from the outside. It looked like it was designed, you know?
From the beginning, like I never said to them like, okay guys, you need to play for me, you do that kind of stuff for me, like I'm gonna be the superstar. I never did that in my life. So I think it just happened, you know, just happened. So like they just built something like around everybody. Like was not just only me. Like we had set strats for Fallen, we have things for Fur, we have things for Taco, things for me, things for FNX, Phelps, both, like every kind of these players. But we never had something set for me. Like, okay, Cold, you're gonna be the guy who's gonna be the last one, and you're gonna survive, and you're gonna win the clutch for us. We never did that. Like we just play for each other, and like things happened naturally, you know. Like sometimes like I have like circumstance that I'm gonna be the guy who's gonna clutch. Sometimes was Fallen, sometimes was FNX, sometimes was both Phelps, but we never have something set like. Okay, like for example, like how Navi did with Simple. Like Navi just plays exactly for Simple. He's gonna be the last one. He always gonna be the guns. Have the guns. People gonna drop for him. Like we never had this on our team. You know, like we just play for each other, and I think that's how it became really good. Like we just have a good chemistry. We just understood each other really well, so we knew how the system works, and we could plan around every player. So every player was really, really important for the team. Like if we change one piece, maybe could be wrong. Other things could get wrong because we have the correct pieces to the system work, you know. And it's hard to find players like that. Players who understand the game, players who understand the system, respect the system, doesn't create doubts about the system, doesn't complain, and these things like make the chemistry get better and better every time. So I think we just set everything for the entire team we create a good chemistry and a good atmosphere inside the team for everyone can shine in the special moments, you know.
One thing that's always tricky when you talk like you are about like a dynamic of how a team works and the pieces and how they fit together is I never want to make it sound like a really simple storyline, like this person did it all or this person was just carried or whatever. But along these lines, right, one of the things people love about this particular team we're talking about, the one that won the major, the two majors, is this team was amazing at late in the round. It was amazing at like 2v2s and 3v3s. And I would describe to a casual, it's like really good at like punishing the opponent. Like you hold a position that if the opponent like doesn't know to look, someone catches him at an off angle or something like that. He was amazing at this. So a lot of people, because of the narrative, will take like Fallen, and since there's that narrative, like he's like the godfather, they'll be like, he taught them all how to play. He's the professor. He's got this persona. Obviously, Zeus was the coach. What I want to ask is this: how much was like, did Fallen teach players things? Was Zeus the guy mastermind? So how much was like people had input? How much was like, was it the case? Was Fallen the godfather in this way? What would you say?
I think like Fallen, he like helps everybody, right? So from the beginning, I think he created a good system. Like that's one thing I cannot disagree, right? So he created a good system that everybody could like have their own styles. Like he created a good mix of the styles that people could fit in this system. And after that, like Zeus was the guy who created a lot of new things. I respect Zeus a lot because of that. He was really smart. So he knew how to outplay opponents. He knew when he bring like different things for us, like different metas, like the way how we should think about the game as well. And Fallen knew how to use really well these things as well. So they create a good system because of that. But like I think like Fallen teach really well Taco in the beginning as well. When we brought Taco to the team, he was a little bit how can I say, like he didn't have a good level of knowledge from the game. So Fallen got him from his hands and said, okay, sit here. Now we're going to be talking about real CS and I'm going to teach you a little bit better the way how I think the game, and you should try to think the same way. So Taco like learned really fast that, and he's a good hard worker as well. So I think we just connect the good pieces together, and we could made some really good chemistry. I think like we just create a atmosphere that people could like give their own opinions, like bring new things, respect the things. Like we just share how important was the game for everybody, you know?
What if I ask you a question, right? I'll ask it in like a funny way, but you can take it however you want. If people remember the famous tweet you made where you sort of flamed Showtime when he stood in that one time in that online game, which wasn't important, it was just a whatever, and it was the game where you guys got wrecked, right? It gives people a perception Coldzera, that Coldzera is harsh on his teammates, or maybe he has like very high standards. Is this true? Do you have high standards?
Yeah, back there I had high standards because like it's really hard to maintain on top, right? So when you are at the bottom, it's really easy. You want to beat the best team. So if you are not thinking like as a champion, like if you think you are not unbeatable, people are gonna surpass you. So I need to be hard. So I was the guy who pushed there in the limit. So I was the guy who was playing like I was the first one who stayed in the computer, and I was the guy who leaves the computer. So if I need to play from 10 a.m. to 2, 3, 4 a.m., I'm gonna play. If this makes me feel good to play, I'm gonna try to push people to do the same, because I know it works for me. So probably gonna work for them as well. So I had high standards, to be honest. Like of course, like sometimes like things go out of control, right? Because
Sure.
I'm a little bit emotional as well. So when I get stressed, when I get like a tilt, so I'm a little bit emotional on this part as well. But like I could try. I think I did my best to push during the limits. Like I think because of that we could have two good years. Like we in 2016 we pushed ourselves in the limit. We could win a lot of titles. 2017 same thing. We were struggling a lot in the beginning. So I pushed there in the limit. So people start to like thinking about, okay, so we need to have a champion mentality. We cannot be weak. And I think that create another like bubble for us, so people could not penetrate this bubble. And as soon that we let people penetrate this bubble, we kind of get broke, you know.
By the way, just along these lines, one thing I do have to ask, because it's just an obvious question to me, is since you yourself are known to be a grinder, you're someone who, even after you played, I've heard like real tournaments, you would go and play with like friends and just do like a 10-man or like a 5v5 or whatever, right? if that's your mentality and you have a really like driven mindset, how did you handle the fact that one of your most famous teammates, Fur, maybe it's not true, but the rumor always was that he didn't like to play the game that much, and he was the opposite. He was like mainly play the official, but then maybe he doesn't play the scrims or the tema. How do you handle that?
I think Fer has a natural talent. He's really good, but I think Fer is just like during the practice, his ethical work is really good. So
right,
he's gonna play in the same way he's gonna play in the tournament. He's gonna push everywhere. He don't care. He's gonna change his timings. He's gonna do whatever he wants to do. But we have a plan behind him to make his aggression work. So, and we knew like, okay, if he do that, we know how to rotate. We knew the structure we had, you know. So, but he was not a guy who was like after the practice, okay, I'm gonna play more 2, 3, 4 hours of CS, but and I'm gonna be pushing myself on the limit, because he doesn't work like that. So if he did that, he would play bad in the tournament.
Right.
So he came to us and said, okay, guys, I'm gonna play really serious in the practice, because practice for me is the best way that I can check my level. And after that, I'm just want to have fun. I just want sometimes just play another game, just having fun, just relax a little bit for the moment. And we were like, okay, if this makes you better and makes you like feel more comfortable, just do it. You know, we don't want to push. Of course, no one wants to push anyone like, okay, you need to play from like 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. every day, play 10 hours, play 20 hours. Like, not gonna do that. Like, it's not a prison, you know.
Okay. Sure. By the way, even though I know sometimes people do repeat things just as memes to be humorous, I actually get the feeling there are certain types of fans who in a way do hate on when you were really at the top. Because even though, look, I get that to a fan, they don't always understand the roles. But like, even when you were number one, there were people who were like, he's just baiting everyone. He's just baiting. Like, what would you say to that? Like put it this way, if I reference other players that were known as baiters like Get Right or Hiko, I think they don't care, mate. They would just tell you, who cares if I win the round? That's my style. I win the round, right? Do you get annoyed if people say that? Do you think, like, was your style, was it a bit baity? It was kind of a lurk style, right?
Yeah, like people like, for example, before we had Phelps, I was the guy who support and just do the trade. Like I was set for that, you know, like Cold, you support, because like I knew how to support really well. So I knew like if I have another flash, I know how to complete. I know how to guide as well, depending of the situation. So I was just the guy responsible for the block, for example, you know, like for example, I play overpass, so I was the guy who domain like toilets, for example, and I was controlling everything with domain toilets, you know. So like I was ever the guy who was saying, okay, Taco, you die for me, I'm gonna kill the guy. No, like people just had a lot of initiative. Like even me as well. Like sometimes I said, okay, drop 1 AK for me on train, I'm gonna just jump mid, I'm gonna kill everybody. Like we never had like something like set for bait, you know, like okay, Cold, you need to play this position because you're gonna play Taco, you're gonna bait Fur, and you're gonna kill 3 guys. Like this never happened. Like it doesn't happen in any team in the world. Like if people think like bait's a bad thing, sometimes bait's a good thing. You know, like sometimes you have the best position to bait the player. Doesn't mean like you're a baiter. It means you are smarter. Because if the guy is baiting for you, of course you're gonna win the round for the team. So it doesn't matter. Like for example, I play in when I joined the 0-0 Nation, I was playing entry, and I don't care. Like if the team needs an entry and no one wants to do it or no one wants to do it, or no one knows how to do it, I'm gonna do it because I know how to guide. I know how to order the sequence of flash that I want. I know how to set like the way how I want the contact, for example, how I want the execution. Know how to give the infos from the side that I see the guy playing. So like it's just things that I learn in different ways, in different positions, that I know how to use really well inside the game.
Yeah, on this topic, from my perspective, when I talked to Taco, I got the sense, like you're saying, it wasn't that Coldzera came in and said, right, everyone, my job here is I do this, and then you a bit. It's more like that's Taco's mentality. Is he actually like he wants to help like set people up, and you obviously knew you for many, many years, and you have a similar vision of the game. Like it's if I can give an example, put it this way, it's the same thing Apex, the French player, told me he used to do for Kenny S. He basically just said, when Kenny S was the best player in the world, of course I'm going to jump around the corner so he can get the trade and open the site. You know, like it just makes more sense. What would you say about Taco in this respect? It seems like it. I mean, almost a perfect player to play with you, right?
Yeah, I think Taco was the guy like who created a lot of space for us. Like, so like if he goes in, he do the entry, he always gonna follow the path that we want him to follow the path, or he wants to do it. He's gonna guide really well the sequence of nades that he wants. So that all these small details makes the game more easily to play, you know. So like if my entry says, okay, I'm gonna just jump right side and I need this flash and this flash, I know the right side is gonna be clear, or he's gonna get in from the right side, so I have space to check left side, for example. You know, like these things make the game easier to play, because like it's like it's not like, for example, everything on the dark. You know, like sometimes like like for example, I'm playing with the new kids now, and sometimes it's hard a little bit to play, because sometimes they don't know how to command really well the way how they want to have the things, you know. And sometimes you're supposed to aim another position, and people are not checking right side, for example, and
Right.
you guys die on the side, you know. Like, so like in our team, everyone had their own paper, and they were doing this job really well. Like they knew how to complete each other, they knew how to choose the things, they knew how to set the things. So everyone had that's why I have a huge respect for them, and I'm gonna have my entire life. I never seen players like that. Like even nowadays, like that's some 1, 2, 3 Brazilian players that they can have a great potential to do that. But the rest, it's kind of hard a little bit, you know. Like I don't see the same things that we are talking about here, like in the new generation, right? So the new generation, just everyone wants to be the alper, everyone wants to be the star player, and no one sometimes wants to sacrifice for your own teammate, you know. Like I don't see these things happening nowadays, you know. So that's why sometimes, like when people say, okay, this kid is gonna be the next Coldzera, and I watch, and I was like, no way, like it's not about like my perspective, like, okay, this guy gonna be better than me, but my perspective was like, no way, like you can see the knowledge, you can see the way how he plays, the way how he uses the nades, the way how he can command, and it's like people doesn't know how to understand this part. This micro management is everything from CS. So for you to be a top player, you have this on point. You need to have these things on point. You know, you need to know how to guide your teammate. You need to help your teammate in the bomb side, offer flashes, and like not just offer flash, but ask for flashes as well. So like it's a bunch of things that create a player to be good, you know. So and I don't see these things nowadays, for example, in the new generation, for example.
One thing I did want to ask is there was always a rumor, or it was mentioned in interviews, that in this particular team, even though like obviously Thorin is a very famous in-game leader, people would always say the line. It was usually that you did like say like half or 40% of the calls. How would you describe like what was the relationship with you and Thorin in that sense? Like is Coldzera free in the middle of a round to say like want to switch something up or do so? How does it work in that sense?
Like in our game, everyone have their own space. Like for example, if Taco was feeling like, okay, probably they were playing like we were playing overpass, and he feel like, okay, they're playing a lot of like setups for monster, like in 2 guys, so probably short's gonna be weak. So he was like, he just needs to say Fallen. They're playing monster heavy, so short is really weak, so we just need to explode short, and we explode short. Like same thing for me. Like sometimes Fallen was like inside the block, and after he moved outside of the block, and sometimes like I was the guy who was like the main part from some areas. And I could see the way how they were playing. If they're playing passive, aggressive, or if they were playing passive, they're getting stomp passive, probably going to change for aggressive. So we were just mixing like the calls around that, you know. So like if people have a privileged infos, we were using it. Doesn't matter the circumstance, doesn't matter the player who gives the call. We're gonna use it because the games work like this, you know. Like we were kind of having a joke with Fallen in the past, like saying like you are the best in-game leader, quiet. Because we are
Right.
giving everything for you, you know. So you just need to end the round and choose how we're going to start the round, and that's it, you know.
Along those lines, by the way, one thing I found a bit weird is like this is one of those areas where people have to understand when I like do analysis or make a joke on Twitter, it's different from like what I would ask someone in an interview. So people think I hate Fallen, right? But the joke is Coldzera. I actually, to reference like what we were talking about earlier with you, I actually just have a very high standard. Like, believe it or not, when you guys were #1 and you were winning all those titles, I thought he was the best in-game leader. He was doing an awesome job. And I know years later when it became MIBR, he actually once on a live show, I think it was at Blast or something, he even said to me, he admitted he actually thought he'd sort of lost his way as a leader, like he lost some of his feel for the game. Or, I mean, famously, like, if you remember, dude, when you guys were winning the major, you were one of the best on Inferno. Then there was years where, like, every team that he was on seemed to lose on Inferno. So, do you have a sense of what happened to Fallen? Like, he was really amazing once at a leader, right? Did something happen to his style or his confidence? What do you think happened to him? He wasn't the best anymore.
I think like Fallen, like before he plays good, he needs a lot of confidence, right? So that's one thing I can see in Furia, for example, right? So he joins Furia now, And I feel like if people doesn't believe in 100%, he's not gonna deliver 100%, right? So he's the type for me, right? So for me, he's the type of player he needs confidence. So people needs to believe on his work. People needs to believe in his system. People needs to follow like the way how he should play, because that's how things connected each other. Like I cannot have a different opinion, for example, from his system, for example, because if I'm having a different opinion, this is not gonna work because I'm thinking the different way that he thinks. And that's one thing in our team, like we are trying to connect everybody. So FNX, me, Fer, Fallen, and Taco, we understood how the system should work, and everyone was thinking the same way. No one was criticizing, no one was blaming, no one was complaining. Everyone just believe, and we're gonna make the system works. And people respect the system. So that's how the like teams have their own characteristics, right? So like for example, if you play against Navi, like the Russian characteristics, like playing a little bit more aggressive, they're gonna test you a lot. Like VP, Spirit, they're gonna test you, and if you fail, you're gonna get stomped, right? So like the French, of course, same thing as well. They like to on the pass they like to test you a lot as well. So they put the Alper to search more. So like we just have our own characteristics, and we just believe like things are gonna work, right? So we like the slow pace. We knew how to use the lurker correctly. We knew how to use the guys on the side to mix off the fakes. We knew how to use the block really well to create like a good initiative for we create space. So like, and that's how every team has their own style, right? So but for this work, people need to believe. They cannot complain, they cannot be arguing, and that's why I think Fallen cannot deliver it too much nowadays, because this new generation, they just like to complain more than listen, you know. So and I think people need to listen, because Fallen didn't win 2 years as the best in-game leader for nothing, right? So he understands about the game. So you just need to build his confidence and let him work as well, and let him do his job. And for the other players, for me, like they just should listen a little bit more as well and try to understand his mentality, you know? First, try to understand the mentality, try to work around this. And if it doesn't work, you create your own characters, you know? Like just create the way how you should play, but together. Like you cannot have like 5 heads inside the team and every head is thinking different, you know?
By the way, when you did at MLG Columbus, the famous jumping AWP shot that turned around the Team Liquid game, at least the first map, right? I've heard the story from everyone else, and everyone else, like, it sounds hilarious. Like, they all say, for example, like, a thing a fan will not remember is, obviously the game was still going on, so all your teammates never saw the move. They just saw, like, you know, on the screen in the top right, got like, Coldzera kills everyone, and then supposedly you just said something like, you won't believe what I just did, but you had to keep playing the game, right? Do you remember this moment? Do you actually remember, like, what it was like to do that move? It's kind of a weird move, right?
Yeah, like to be honest, I was testing these on DM, and I was like kind of hitting, and I was like, Taco, see, I can hit. And in the game, I don't know what passed in my head, because I did that on DM a lot. And I when I hit the shot, I was like I was quiet, right? So because it was something insane. I couldn't believe as well what happened. So like after the round, I was like, guys, after the game, you guys are gonna see something maybe that you guys didn't saw the entire life, right? And they were like, yeah, shut up. Let's go. Let's focus, guys, because we were losing, right? So after the game, we won, and I was like going to smoke a cigarette, like in the lounge, and they just came. Oh my god!
Right.
Oh my god! You know, like it was a good feeling, right? So I think that was a turn point for us to change the map, because Taco was like a little bit getting a little bit suffocating in B side. So I just said like, Taco, let's switch. I take B and you play short. So just put like his stress out of the game, because he was kind of feeling a little bit pressure inside the game, and we just changed. And that's one thing, like I told you, like about how people think like for each other, you know. Like if I do that, for example, with a player nowadays, you're gonna be feeling, okay, this guy thinks I'm bad,
right?
Guy, you know, like that's the mentality never passed in our head, you know. Like
yes.
We didn't have this mentality. We just had the mentality to help each other. So if someone is feeling bad in the game, okay, let's switch positions. Fine, just try to play another position to see if we can connect to the game again. And we had this in the moment, worked really well for us, and we win the round, and we win the game, you know.
One thing I always thought was quite cool about the story of how you guys came up and then became number one and won the majors is it almost was like a video game where you're facing the different bosses. So, like, if people don't know, like, the final boss in this analogy is obviously FNATIC because they used to be number one when you guys came up. And obviously they famously had that record where they'd beaten you on land, like, every time. But if people forget, before the final boss, like in a video game, there was another boss, there was Na'Vi. Na'Vi used to always beat you too, right? Can you remember when you first came into the scene and these teams used to beat you? What was it like? Did they actually seem like they were much better? Did they seem like they were unbeatable at the time?
I think the experience. I think with the experience, you call it higher, right? So I think I remember when we were playing against FNATIC in Katowice, we're supposed to win the tournament. Like 100%. If I play this tournament, like nowadays, we're supposed to win like 10 out of 10. Like we had 3 games in our hands, like 12-3, 12-3, and 11-4. And we got comeback in all the 3 games.
Yes.
I think we were not ready. Our mentality was not a mentality of champion. Like we want to close the game really fast. Okay, let's close this game. Like it's gonna be our game. So, but it's not that way how you're supposed to think. You know, like you need to respect your system, respect the mentality, respect the timings, respect the executions, respect the flashes. You know, like you cannot rush situations like that. You know, and I think we didn't have the mentality to win that game. We didn't know how to close the game really well. So we were giving space, and when we were seeing like they're already close to the score, you know. So I think after that we learned a lot. Like I remember we back to US, and we didn't made a boot camp to the major, but we were feeling so much confident like practicing in US because I think we did a great thing was like how we're gonna approach the game, how we're gonna help our mentality to become good in aspect of to close the games, to be more calm, to be more patient, and that was a good thing for us. Like after that, we start to closing our games, we start to build confidence in our games, and we start to create our good chemistry. Like so, I think things just happened naturally for us. Like I think we learned a lot losing for them. I think that's was a big thing for us. Like losing for Na'Vi and FNATIC was good because we could see in some aspects that we were losing the game, you know. So I think this helped us a lot. FNATIC was really hard to play against. They were like 5 guys really smart. Everyone was in shape. They were playing like they were testing you a lot. So I think FNATIC for me like was the most hard team to play against back there. Like was really hard. Every game was intense against them. I think we had a little bit. We have a good rivalry against Na'Vi. But I think against Na'Vi the game was not so chaotic, you know. Like you could feel the flow, you know, of the game. But against FNATIC was always like a chaotic game, you know. Like Flush are gonna do something crazy, Olaf's gonna do something crazy, Queen's gonna do something crazy. But like for example, Fer was doing something crazy, Fallen as well, me as well, Taco as well. So the game was like going back and forth really fast, you know. So but after we create this mentality, like, okay, guys, let's keep calm just to close the game. Let's play slow pace. Let's make them they commit mistakes now. They are in the pressure, not us anymore. Like we start to close the games and we start to win tournaments, you know.
Right, when you were given by HLTV the award #1 player of the year for 2016, 2017, obviously like HLTV is still just a bunch of guys. Like that was their decision. They put their expert panel and they decided you. It's not like it was God that said it. So here's my question. Does Coldzera himself, did you think you were the best player in the world?
To be honest, like I never felt that, you know, like I never felt in my life like, okay, so I'm Coldzera, I'm the best player in the world, I'm untouchable. Like I never felt that in my life. Like doesn't matter if I win or not. Like for me, the biggest thing and the most important thing was winning as a team. Like I never thinking about myself first than everybody. Like never did that. Like literally, like if I'm the best player in the world, okay, nice, that's good. That's of course always good to have your own. I forgot the name in the English. It's good to have like your
self-esteem,
right?
or something.
Yeah. Your conquers, right? In your conquers for yourself, you know. But like I never thought in my life like, okay, I'm the best player in the world. I'm gonna be stupid in this way. I'm gonna do something stupid in this way. Like I was just playing for the team, and the team was playing for me. And like Fer was playing for me. I was playing for Fer, and etc. You know, like we always help each other like in so many ways, and like we never had like the selfishness part. You know, like no one was selfish in our team. Like We just like play for each other every game, every day, like, and it creates like good things for us, you know, like we respect each other, we never complain against each other, like we just play the game for everybody, and like doesn't matter if I'm the best player in the world or not. For I be the best player in the world, they help me be the best player in the world. They help me to have the best version of myself, you know. So like I just like I always said to them like nothing this would happen if it was from if you guys could not help me as well, you know, like,
Right.
and that's how the life it is, you know. If you won as a team, you not one you don't win as a single player, you know.
Right, I've got a little story I'm going to tell people to ask this question, which goes, when Taco was on Team Liquid, when he'd moved over like years later, and you guys were still in SK Gaming when you brought in Stewie, and he was like obviously the replacement player, right? I remember there was a Star Series tournament where you played Team Liquid in the group stage, you beat them, right? And in this game, I have a very good memory for stuff like this. There was a game on Train, right? And in the game, bizarrely, there was actually a 1v1 between Fallen and Taco, obviously former teammates. And I was told a story, right, that in this 1v1, like I think Fallen won the 1v1 and Taco did something simple, like he just doubled back on his position to go back to the bomb or something. Someone told me the story that during the 1v1, you said to Fallen on the comms, like, noobs always make mistakes, which isn't to say Taco was a noob, but in this case, what you meant basically was like, as far as I know, when people sort of like feel nervous, they'll just sort of like do something very simple or quite obvious, I think was kind of the point you were making, and Fall like heard this and then won the 1v1, right? What I was going to ask is this question. That's quite a cool story. Like if I was making a documentary, people would love to hear that story, right? That sounds like Coldzera can be a bit cocky. Do you think you have like a high opinion of yourself?
Nah, like Taco was feeling a lot of pressure in this game. So like when you say something for your teammates, it's like just for build confidence for your teammates.
Hype
right?
him up,
So,
right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, of course I gotta put him up, you know, because I know he can win the 1v1, you know. So like that's why I told him like, Boobs, just commit mistakes, just relax, and you're gonna win, you know. Like, and he won. But like Taco was feeling a lot of pressure, of course, because he needs to prove himself because of the situation, what happened inside the team, right? So, but like after that, he was playing really amazing in Team Liquid.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, because along these lines, the reason I also asked that question is because I actually always felt like what you said there makes sense if I think of your style when you're in like 1vx and clutch situations, because you always seemed very, very confident. Like I notice, whereas a mistake I notice a lot of even pro players make is sometimes it looks like they don't really know what they're doing. They're just sort of like taking a gamble, or they just like think and then they second guess. It always looked like you just sort of knew what you wanted to do. You always had like a good mentality for that. Is it something you thought about a lot? What was the secret, do you think, as to why you're so good in clutches?
I think like people commit a lot of mistakes more often on LAN than online, right? So first of thing, like you cannot hear the same steps that you hear in on LAN, right? So because of the crowd, so you could press a little bit more W in the clutches, and people like commit a lot of mistakes. Like there's the same thing. They feel pressure to kill the last guy, you know. Like doesn't matter if it's 2v1, 3v1, 4v1. They just won't finish the round fast sometimes, and that's when you punish them. And like I was super calm on that, so I knew like if I could get this guy, I'm gonna create space for create another 1v1s. I was just trying to explore a lot of 1v1s. People were like commit more often mistakes, right, on LAN. So like if you were just patient, you're gonna punish the first one. You could punish the first one, and after you could isolate the 1v1s. And people were just like sometimes they want to close the round fast. And they just wanna just rush the situation, and that's how you punish one, they punish the second, punish the third. Like I was like super calm in that situation. So every time I was in clutches, I knew exactly what I should do it. So like if you just hold angles and you just could bait them with the sound or with the nades, they're gonna feel pressure to close the round. So sometimes in 3v1s, people sometimes play without respect, and they just rush the situation so fast that you can punish one, punish the second, punish the third. So every time when I was in clutches, I was having everything on my hand, you know. So I should have patience and wait people commit the first mistake first. After people commit the first mistake, is naturally sometimes the second one gonna commit or the third one gonna commit as well. So like I was just really patient. I was just like briefing a lot as well, thinking like, okay, I need to isolate this duel. I need to isolate this duel. Like this guy gonna pick first, or probably this guy's the Alper, he's gonna play last, so I can isolate this duel, you know. So like I was just having everything on my control, you know.
Right, there's a concept I don't know if you're aware of. I don't know how much, I mean, these things translate, but in like America and the UK, when people talk about like the criminal system, there's a term called statute of limitations, where basically it means like if you do like a certain crime after a certain point in time, it doesn't matter if you tell people like I actually did do that because like too many years has passed, they can't take you to prison or take you to court. Like it's like when it's like 15 years later, it's something small, no one cares, right? So along those lines, I want to test this premise, right? This is from years ago now, Coldzera. It's safe to tell me. Don't worry now. You remember in 2016 when you guys were in Luminosity and then there was this big blockbuster move and you went to SK Gaming. But a detail people probably forget, Coldzera, is they remember, yeah, you went to SK Gaming and you won another major. It was awesome. They probably forget, though, there was this weird drama when you guys went there where, like, it was announced, like, it reminds me a bit of these leaks. It was announced, like, they're going to go to SK Gaming. But then, bizarrely, then Fallen came out, and he was sort of like, no, we're not. And in fact, we're going to stay in Luminosity. And, like, I can't even remember. It was something like, and they're tricking us into SK or something. And I remember at the time just being like, what? And when I looked into it, it's like, I won't say Fallen was lying, but I'll just say, like, the way that was presented, there was a lot of nonsense behind the scenes. It felt like there was a lot of things that never came out and no one knew. So all I'll ask is this, Coldzera, is can you give me any backstory as to what went on there from your perspective? Like, did you guys want to join SK Gaming? Was there something where you guys thought last minute about staying in Luminosity? What went on with that? Give me some thoughts.
I think like in the past when we were about this move, right? So I think all the teams were having a way more big salary than us, right? So
sure,
we
yes.
were, because like Luminosity was a team from the beginning, since we started to win, right?
Yes.
So, and we respected a lot, to be honest, because it was kind of hard as well. You give just throw your money in the air, say, okay, this thing may be gonna work, so let's overpay them, you know?
Yes.
So like we understood the situation, like the way how the process was happening. And after that, we had a big chance to join SK. And when we joined SK, like we signed the contract, we signed everything was set, right? So, but like something was kind of was a little bit bad, you know, like Fallen was feeling bad to leave Buyaka, you know, because all the things he did for us.
Yes.
And I think he feel a little bit bad, you know, to saying, okay, guys, we want to leave a guy who gave us everything in the beginning and who believed in us, you know. So like it was kind of hard, but like Fer was wants to go to SK because like he like Fer was the type of guy that like if he have a better offer for everybody, why not accept? You know,
right?
So like he was thinking about high standards, and I understand his opinion as well, right? Because like if you are the best team in the world, you need higher standards, right?
Yeah.
Better than everybody, right? So and LG could not give us these high standards because they were like a beginner
just a smaller team,
right?
at the time.
Yeah, there was
exactly.
a smaller team, yeah, right? So like, but Fallen in the meantime was feeling bad to leave Buyaka because he helped us from the beginning and he don't want to leave Buyaka. So that was a big crazy thing.
Right.
And we started to have conflict on both sides because we signed already the contract, but we want to come back and like at the end we lose our spot on the league. We lose our spot in a lot of tournaments because of that, and because it was not good, right? What we were doing. I think things started to get out of our control a little bit. And after that, we just fixed everything. Like we said some apologize for Buyaka because like that's the thing. Like Fer said, like we need higher standards, and people start to understand that as well. And that's not a thing you can complain as well, right? So if you are not getting paid in the same amount that people like in Europe, the top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5 are gained, so like you're not in the level, you know. Like we were getting better conditions, and for us these conditions was valuable in back there, you know.
Right. Since when you were describing like the success of the team and how everyone trusted each other and was on the same page, right? You know that famous meme where after FNX got kicked out the team, all the fans, I know it was just a joke, but they would always be like, no FNX, no major, implying like if you don't have an FNX, you're not going to win the major. And the problem with that is obviously they were right. Like there never was another Brazilian major. It just all kept going on. But the problem with that topic obviously is, as people will know from the interviews, there was good reasons why FNX got kicked out. So I understand why it had to happen at the time. I'm sure he would even admitted himself if someone did an interview with him now. But the question I have goes like this. It did seem, though, if you look at the lineups after that, even though some of them had success, like the Phelps lineup won loads of tournaments, and with Bolts you won some tournaments, and in majors you always were close, you were like semi-finals, and maybe some of these times it could have happened. It did seem like no lineup ever had the same chemistry though as the FNX lineup. Like when he was saying before about how like everyone knew sort of like where the teammates looking or what we're going to do next, it feels like that first lineup had like the most special, like, you know, 5 people people together as well. Would you agree?
Like I think I agree and disagree a little bit. So like I think when we kick FNX, we played 2 majors with a standing, right? So we played one standing was
Fox.
Fox.
Yes.
Fox was the first one, and after that, when we start to winning again, at the end of 2017, we played Phelps is standing in Atlanta.
Yes.
So because both was already in the team, so every time in these majors that we were winning tournaments, we were like kind of changing players because of the major system, right? So this kind of affected us a little bit because we were having a good run, right? We won I think 4 tournaments in a row.
Yes.
And after we lose one, but after that was the major, and we played the standing, and like this was not okay, was not comfortable, right? But I think with FNX, the group was a little bit more united, right? In the sense like the way how we should thinking about the game 24 hours. So we were just focusing to win this tournament, and we're gonna win this tournament. And of course, FNX is a nice guy. I think like about the cake from FNX. I think like for our team, I think that the destruction from our team when we had FNX and after I left, I think was because of the high standards. Like after we start to have a higher standards, people start to going out of the line. So we have our online, the way how we should thinking about the game, the way how people should be giving their souls for the game. But after we start to get more money, start to having a better life condition, I think people start to get a little bit out of these lines. And and after that we start to lose this chemistry, to lose this integration, from the team. And I think we start to losing ourselves in some part of these years,
By the way, since as you said, you actually had 2 majors you went to where you had the stand-in. If people don't remember, the E-League one, you actually had an awesome game against Virtus Pro in that semi-final. It was like this close. You could have been in the final. And then obviously the one where you went with Phelps. People forget this, but you were actually one of the teams that also played Cloud9 pretty close. It was like a 3-map series, right? At these tournaments, normally if team goes with the stand-in, I notice most, like right now, for example, Blast, Heroics play with all these stand-ins. Normally what you do in that scenario is you actually kind of try to make expectations zero. You just say, since we have a stand-in, we can't really think we're going to be our best. So, kind of just play guys and don't worry about it. But at these tournaments, your team actually looked like they could have won. Do you actually think was it possible to win even with a stand-in, do you think?
No, I think it was not impossible. I think we were trying to do our best, right? So when we brought Fox, we had I think 1 month of boot camp of him. We could set everything that the way how we want to play, the integration. But sometimes the experience counts a lot, So especially in the majors, right? So sometimes it's not the best team who always gonna win, but the team who it's more ready and have more experience sometimes, So for example, we played with Fox. I felt in the game against VP, he was kind of a little bit nervous, for example, and this probably could affect his game. So, but we were playing good as a team, for example, with Phelps, Atlanta, same thing. Phelps was not inside the team, but he was giving his best. Doesn't matter the situation, no? I think everyone wants to, they want to win. So I think they gave everything they have. And I think it connected with everybody as well, because we want to win as well, another one. So I think all the mix of, with all this problem that we had about the standing, I think this not affect us at all. I think we had a great chance to win as well.
Right. When you were in this period where in 2016 you won the 2 majors, if I stopped the day after you won that second major and said to any fan or expert in the game, how many majors does Coldzera win? At that moment, for real, someone would probably say like 5 or 6. You looked at the time you're unbeatable. You were just going to win everything. What would you say to the fact that there haven't been any more giant championships after that? There's been some good wins, like you said, 2017. Some of those tournaments are good wins. They're legit wins to get under the belt. But it's not the same as winning a major. And I've heard if you're a top player and you kind of win the championship, nothing's the same. You need to repeat that again, right? You have it's like a thirst to do it. Would you say that for you? Have you been thinking about it in the years since?
Yeah, I think after I think one major that we didn't play with any standing was Krakow.
Oh yes, the one you lost to Astralis, right?
Yeah. This one was kind of a little bit mess. This was a big mess. I think we just lose ourselves because we were really tired from the travels. We played I think 5 tournaments straight, and we could not have time to even to take a short breath, right?
Right.
A short brief. So like was kind of a little bit exhausting. People were like bringing families as well to the tournament, and then we started losing the focus. Like we were playing really good in the group stage, and we dropped the focus really hard. I think we didn't practice for 2 days. We didn't plan too well the game, and when we were about to play against Australis, we just get stomped. I think this game, like I think this measure we could got this measure if we had like a good mindset. I think when we failed for some big tournament or important tournament, it's because either our mindset was not so good, like we just lose ourselves in the middle of the tournament, or because we were really tired. Like back there, I just could see my family in 6 months, for example, you know. So it was way more hard than nowadays. Nowadays, I travel to Brazil like I don't know, like
Right.
2 times, 3 times a month, or 4 times like in a month because I had tournaments in Brazil to play, so I can see my family now. So the life condition nowadays is better, you know. So like in the past, you have a lot of tournaments. If you don't play one of those, you're gonna drop the rank, and people gonna start to
Yes.
get invites above you, you know. So like for us, like our mentality was like let's play the maximum tournament that we can and always be in the top five, you know. That was our mentality. So, but this is kind of a little bit exhausting. Like we didn't have the same preparation that we have today. Like today, you can plan a little bit which tournament you're gonna play, which week you're gonna rest, which month you're gonna give up everything for practice. You know, just to focus in your team, focus in yourself. But back there was kind of hard a little bit. Like I remember like a time that we traveled for 7 different countries, like Russia, China, Brazil, Denmark. Uh, After that, we go to Germany, USA, back to USA. Like that's crazy. Like to your head, that's really crazy. You know, like different time zones every time makes your head explode a little bit. You know.
This is just a random question, but some of them I just wanted to ask for fun. So there's a famous map people might remember way back in the day. It was on Cobblestone, where Simple, when he was on Navi, tried to knife Coldzera, but he like fucked it up and then actually like lost the whole round off that. And then everyone remembers it was like a legendary moment, like don't ever try and knife Coldzera, right? Why does it? Is there a reason why it like bothered you if people tried to knife you? Like normally people are just like, look, it's a kind of a troll move, but it seemed like actually irritated you if people tried to do it, right?
Nah, that doesn't make me mad. But like that situation makes me mad because like he could win that 1v1. You know?
True. Yes.
Like I was going out through a molly and I had bullets and I knew he could win the round. So he was like going to troll me, you know. So I got really mad, and that was good for me because that make me back to the game.
Right.
And after that, we start to stomp them, you know. So like sometimes you cannot provocate your opponents, you know. That's not good.
Sure. Because along similar lines, like some of these are like just the greatest hits of Coldzera stories. So I'll ask you another one, right? There's the one where when Australis got to the top and they were winning everything, you did that like really weird trash talk to Device where you told him like, hey, like essentially you sort of said like the gist was like you changed, like, you know, when you didn't win the tournaments, you were kind of like talking to us in the club and you were friendly. But then when you were the best, I mean, the implication was like he was a bit aloof, you know, like he seemed like he was better than everyone and didn't want to talk to. Look, I know this is beef from years ago now. I doubt there's like a big problem now. But what would you say to that? Because I actually think it's an interesting comment because it is true. People can be like that. When you're like, they think you're on the same level, they can be friendly. When they think they're better than you, sometimes they do. You know, I mean, the English people say they think their shit doesn't stink, right? They think they're just better than everyone. What would you say on this topic? Did you get the sense that people did that to you when you guys went on top?
Yeah, I think when we were on top, we were kind of I think we always try to help everybody. Like,
Right.
doesn't matter the players, doesn't matter. Like, I think we always have, like, for example, after the tournament, of course, or when you have a day off in the tournament, right? So, like, you just go there outside, just go for a beer, just drink with friends, and, you know, like, just have some fun, you know? Not out of their minds, like, just go party and just get fucked up, you know? But, like, sometimes you go to the bar, like, in the hotel, just go there, have a good drink, talk with everybody, and like we were have like sometimes nights that we were just going there, everybody was sitting there in our table having fun. We are trying to help them as well inside the game as well, because for us doesn't matter, you know, like doesn't matter if they're our opponents or not. Like
Yes.
we can help, you know, like we're just gonna make the scene grow and that's it, you know. And I think when people start to win a lot, they start to change a little bit, you know, depending of the people, right? The people has different mentality, right? We had a mentality that like for us doesn't matter if we're winning or not, we're gonna be the same person, you know. But some persons that have this mentality, like, okay, I'm winning, fuck you, I'm gonna close you on my bubble and that's it, you know. But in the past, they forgot, like, they were everyone in the same table, you know.
Yes. Yes. By the way, what Coldzera is also talking about here is if you ever went to an event and you were in like the bar of the hotel, his team, the Luminosity SK team, was actually very famous for being very social and being willing to let people come in and sort of like you say, yeah, some people aren't like that. If people don't know, spoiler, some of the Nordic teams were just a bit like sat drinking on their own. No one even knew, can we talk to these guys? So I will say I can corroborate that. Some of that is the case. I may not have the most supporters in the world, but the ones I do have are straight fire. And they include Mac Pugnaccio Rakula, Frisky, Ahmed Haju, Toucan, Tobias Bernasconi, Animosity, Tosh, Jensen Gore, and you know it always is a special thanks going out to Jerky's Minion. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my show? Do you want to see things I say on my Discord, little piece of straight fire I drop in the Patreon only channels, stories I tell people in the other ones? Do you want to ask a question in my monthly AMA? Do you want teasers? Find out who the next guests are for Reflections interviews? Maybe you want to be one of those people who takes part in the long form discussion with me where we talk about whatever's on your mind in esports. Well, if any of those or more sound interesting, why not support me, put your money where your mouth is, and join the Illuminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.